Hi and welcome to my channel. I am Lisa Crow of Create and Cam with Lisa, and today I'm going to teach you some border tangles. So I'm just going to get straight into it, and as the end approaches, I'll show you some previous examples of border tangles that I have created myself. So I'm going to go in just now I'm going to create probably 3 border tangles today. So I'm just going to go in pencil and just lightly mark out where these individual borders will be. You can go straight in with ink if you like, for at least two of the borders. One of them requires you to mark things out with pencil, I would say. Just getting straight into everything. Kind of keen to get on the go with my videos again because I've been AWOL this past week. I haven't been feeling well, I'm afraid. My daughter ended up with a vomiting bug and then I got the bug as well. It's been fun times here. So this first border tangle that I'm going to teach is called Coil. And Coil was deconstructed by Sue Jacobs, who is another certified Zentangle teacher. So I'm going to mark out along this first set of parallel lines. I'm going to put some dots and I'm going to try and keep them as equally spaced as I can. This is a border pattern that I absolutely love. I actually, when my sister and my brother-in-law got married, I created like I don't even know what you would call it, a memento. It's just a framed thing that had their names and, you know, basically Mr. and Mrs. Speck is their married names. And I had calligraphy writing and the border around it. I'll need to see if I can actually find that and then I can upload it in my description of my YouTube video, but I love this. So what you're doing is you're going from one dot and you're not going directly below it. You're going to the one that's below on the left and you're creating, you'll see it's like a lazy S, and you're going to do that all the way along. And this is I'll show you later on actually. I've got my Project Pack 10 book that I had bought and completed when Zentangle were doing that individual project pack. And I can show you a variation of it, which is really quite good fun. So once you've got all your S shapes done, you're going to connect not every single set of bars. You're going to connect one, skip, connect, skip, connect, skip, and then connect. And then you're going to connect the ones that have already been connected at the top along the bottom. Okay. Now the next step is that we're going to kind of create a kind of curved line, as if this is wrapping around, hence the name Coil. I'm going to do this on the other side as well. So you could choose to kind of keep this pattern, like, you know, the coil going along, so as if it's disappearing off the page, or you can complete it just the way that I've done it here. But the next stage is we're going to have orbs in here. So it's as if this orb is just smushed in. And I mean, the way that I've seen this in the step out, it's more of an extra line has been added here. This is just my way of doing it. Maybe it's not even as neat, but I just kind of like, if you're familiar with the Zentangle pattern in Zeppel, it's similar. The way I'm doing it is similar to the way that you would fill in the individual in Zeppel spaces. And then I am going to colour in here around where that orb has left a space. Don't think this particular inking in bit is necessarily in the original step outs, but to me it just kind of emphasises the background. It kind of sets the background apart from that orb shape. Okay, so now that's as simple as Coil gets. It's such a lovely, lovely tangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade each individual border pattern before I move on to the next. So how I would go about shading Coil is that I would put some graphite at the tops. You see it almost as if these are like pieces of a ribbon, as I kind of alluded to earlier on. So I would put graphite at the tops and bottom of each of these vertical parts. Do that for every single one. And then I'm going to put like a smile shape in each of those orbs. And one other thing that I think I would do is that I feel like there would be shadow on the sides here. Remember, there's no light source in Zentangle, so it's not following, you know, a specific rule. So if you don't want to add shading in these parts of your own tangle, then just leave this step out. It's entirely up to you. But I'm going to come in now with my blending stump and just smooth some of the graphite line out, remembering not to smooth too far into the centre, or you'll you know, ruin the illusion that you're going for with the highlight. I love that already. Just adds a bit of a, gives it some oomph. Just smoothing out the little smiley face on those orbs, and already it's making them look more spherical. Magic created with a simple pencil. So that is the beautiful tangle coil. So the next pattern that I'm going to demonstrate today is a tangle that's called Oybay. And Oybay, I'm just checking the name, is something, it was a tangle deconstructed by Antonine Kovac, who is another certified Zentangle teacher. And this is one that I actually sometimes forget about, and then I think, oh, I should be actually using this a lot more. It's a lovely, lovely tangle. So you start out with a wave, well, a series of waves. Reminds me of when I was at school. Whatever my maths knowledge is appalling. but you know, whatever that graph would be called. So what we're going to do for the next step is that we're going to effectively aura this line. So we're just going a small amount of distance away from that, and it's basically a tapered aura. It kind of looks, you're creating almost like a toothpaste shaped shape. And then you're just recreating that along that space. And each of these little bits is going to get shorter in length until eventually you just create a little orb that's kind of nestled in at the end. I don't think that rounding is in the original bit of the step out, but I'm just adding it anyway. And we're going to create that in every single of the bit of one of these waves in the upside down ones. Also worth mentioning, you can see I've got 4 here and I've got 5 here. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the same amount of lines in every single one. Doing my rounding again. What I quite like about this and a lot of other border tangles is that these can actually be used if you, I don't know if you ever write letters to people. I've just gone over the line, but it doesn't matter. If you still write letters to people, what I've done before myself is that I've put the address on the envelope, and then making a bit of a mess here, am I? Yeah, so I've put the address on the envelope, and then I've put whether it's down the left-hand side vertically or somewhere on the envelope. You can just embellish it a little bit, just rather than just having a plain envelope with the address. You can actually make it look even nicer. Right, so I'm going to just repeat that. We obviously didn't have that full shape to begin with, but we're just going to imagine that it was there. I remember I'm also into calligraphy. If you don't know that about me already, I enjoy doing calligraphy, and I was a member of a subscription box, and for the subscription box I was doing, the address was all in calligraphy, and I thought it makes sense to make it even prettier and add the Zentangle. And the person that I sent it to didn't actually realise that I had drawn it. She said it looked like it was actually printed on the envelope. So that's how easy it is to actually make Zentangle look so impressive. It's just like the shading of the pencil and the ink, it just creates something amazing. So now that we've got all of these bumps done, we're going to do some horizontal lines that kind of join these humps or waves together. And the step outs, it's not like a solid line. I mean, by all means, you could create a solid line for this if you would like. But I think the way that the step out has it, where it's not a solid, consistent line, I think it actually adds something to it. So you're just adjusting the weight of your pen so that sometimes your pen isn't even on your tile. And some of the lines might actually not even look that straight, they might be a bit squiggly. But that's the joy of Zentangle. If you have shaky hands, it's very, very forgiving. So that is the inking all complete for Oybay. So when it comes to shading, what I like to do is to put graphite in at the tops of these bits of, I'm going to call them toothpaste. Obviously they're not toothpaste, but just so you know what I'm talking about. Pretty much the way that I shaded these bits on Coil. So I'm just going to put some graphite at the tops and the bottoms of each of these bits. And then I'm going to do the grin shape in the orbs. And I'm also going to add a bit of graphite just on the tops of these waves. So then just bringing in blending stump and smoothing that all out. I've never actually thought about this as I've been doing this tangle before, but now that I'm looking at it, maybe it's just my brain and the way my brain works, but it's almost reminding me of a row of snails or tortoises or something like that, some kind of shelled creature. Quite like that. Very, very cute. So the last one that I'm going to teach is something that I may have taught in previous YouTube lessons, I'm not sure, but I love this tangle so much, so I'm just going to put this in here. I always use this. I often use this as a border tangle, or a ribbon tangle if you want to call it a ribbon tangle. So I'm just inking in those initial lines, and then I'm going to put a thin aura, remembering that you don't have to create these lines, you know, all in one go. If it's easier for you to stop, you know, pause, lift your pen, do that. This is not about making life hard for ourselves. It's supposed to make it easier. And don't hold your breath when you're creating long lines either, because you might actually discover that your lines are shakier and it defeats the purpose of holding your breath. Something that a lot of people are inclined to do for whatever reason. So Shatuk, the way that I do it, there are two versions of Shatuk. So there's one where you have straight lines, but I always end up doing the curved Shatuk. So I start it with just a line like that, so it's almost like a quarter circle. And then I'm just going to aura a few times inside that original line. And then what I'm going to do is, I mean, you can have it just be a series of aura lines, but I'm going to ink in the last little bit of Shatuk in each one. And then you're just doing that all the way along the length of this border. So yeah, as I'm recording this, it's what time are we at? 10 to 10 on Friday morning, and I normally aim to have my videos recorded on a Monday so that I can get some time to edit them on a Tuesday, and I have them scheduled to go out on a Wednesday at 11 AM in UK time. But fate had other plans for me this week, because it ended up that I was woken up in the morning the other day by Isla. It's 5 for people who don't know. Mummy, I feel sick. And then that was about 4 in the morning, and it quickly went downhill from there. Later on, a few hours later, I was also feeling sick. So neither of us have been at work or school. I'm still not feeling great today, but I am well enough to be working, so I'm just getting on with things. And Isla's back at school today. But for anybody who, because I know that there are some of you who like to watch this as it goes out, but you know, for anybody who, like, it's just a shame that I wasn't able to get it out on time. So I do want to apologise for that, but I know that you'll understand that illness just gets in the way sometimes and gets to the best of us. So just repeating those lines. I think that's why I like this tangle so much, is just that it's, once you get into a rhythm of it, it's working out more or less that I'm doing 3 lines every time, but I do have some where it's 4 lines. So just whatever number of lines that you end up having as an aura, just run with it. Nobody's going to go in and count and say, well, you had 3 there and 4 there. It's not what it's all about. Once it's all completed, everyone's going to just think it looks amazing anyway. Just about there now. And I have realised that I didn't add any highlights to some of my, or to any of my previous tangling that I've done today. So once I've done the shading for Shattuck, I will go back over and add some highlight in my other ones. Because even although I think it looks lovely just now, these tangles that I've created this morning, when I add highlight, it's just going to add even more oomph. So with this one, you can see it's not quite complete. So just imagine where it would go off. And then you're almost, it's not quite the right terminology that I'm using probably, but it's almost like you're doing the holly bomb fashion. It's like you're imagining where it would go. You're doing the drawing behind. It's not quite what I'm aiming for when I'm telling you that, but hopefully you'll know what I'm referring to. If you can't actually see what you're drawing at, you're just kind of imagining where your pen would have gone. So when I shade my Shattuck, I always go along the individual bars, not the individual bars, along the length here. And then, see, I was skipping ahead a wee bit. I also, when it comes to the individual Shattuck shapes, I do add a bit of shade there to distinguish them so that they kind of are not all one big shape. I mean, you can just do shading at the sides if you like. That would look lovely as well, but I just like to add some extra definition and put the graphite in all of these bits where there's a Shattuck overlapping another one. So then just smoothing that out. Remembering not to hurry through this. It's not a race. It's something to do for fun and enjoyment. So relax off any tension that you might feel. Just actually noticing my shoulders feeling quite tense just now. So just relax yourself into your chair. It's fun. So I'm going to take my white pastel pencil now and I'm going to just emphasise where I've got these bits in the centre of this ribbon. And I'm also going to put where I've got these bits of graphite, the grin shapes, I'm just going to put it in the opposite side, part, whatever you want to call it, of that orb. I'm going to put some some pastel pencil in the centres of these parts of the Oybay. Same thing again with the orbs. And then I'm going to put some in the centres of these horizontal lines as well. And then when it comes to the Shattuck, just in the centres of these kind of remind me of colourless rainbows almost. So just in the, actually I should be going right into those black bits because that adds even more of an impact. Just right down the centre. Right into the tips. All the way along to the end. So nearly there now. I'm just going to smooth out the pastel pencil anywhere that I've laid that down. There we go. And what you could also do, I'm going to do this, if you have a jelly roll, you could use the jelly roll pen, white jelly roll pen. Now this is quite a subtle change, but you could go along with the jelly roll pen and just add some white in those bars that go all the way along the length of the Shattuck. And you would be doing a better, slower job. You can see I'm going quite quickly with it. You don't need to go so fast. The slower that you go, you're not going to end up adding white pencil over your tangles that you'd previously created. So that, I think I will need to give that jelly roll a bit of time to dry, but what I will do is that I will retrace those lines once the jelly roll is dry, just to kind of add the black back in where it's been muted a little bit. So this isn't really a composition that I've created today, it's 3 separate tangles really, but I'm going to add my chop anyway. So I'm just going to put that down here, my chop just being my identifier, like a signature really, it's just my initials, because part of the Zentangle method is appreciation and signing, and just so you take a moment to realise that you created this in not really much time at all. It doesn't take any time really to pull together these tangles, but it just gets you out of your head. Brilliant for decreasing your anxiety and alleviating stress. So I hope that you've had fun today with this. I'm going to show you now some previous tangles that I've created. Some of these are not necessarily done in a ribbon way. Like you'll see this flower, this is a Zentangle project pack. I think it was the most recent one. Obviously I've got Shattuck here. I'm going to zoom out so you can see this full one. But it's just to kind of give you an idea. I mean, a border tangle can be very, very simple as well. It can just be a series of lines all the way around. This is Opus. This is the first time that I had drawn Opus, but I was doing the Zenuary challenge, and Opus was one of the days we were creating that tangle. This tile was created during my seminar when I was training to become a Zentangle teacher. So this is basically using the concept of fragments and reticula. So we're starting out, the reticula is just the square or squarish shapes, and then the fragments, you can obviously see the individual fragments repeat, but they're maybe mirrored or whatever. So you've got that as an option when you're doing borders. Again, this isn't border tangles used as a border, but any number of these, any one of these could really be used as a border, which is quite fun. I've got another one here. So Knightsbridge is one of my favourites. I'll add Knightsbridge to many of my tiles. And you can do Knightsbridge here as like a single layer, or you could start to do it as a checkerboard so that you would have another round of it, and then you would have white boxes be on top of black boxes and vice versa. So that can be quite effective. And then this one, this is not my composition, but I thought it was just a good demonstration of how a border tangle, you know, you don't actually have to have it be, you know, the lines are all parallel to each other. You can have them offset. This was actually a composition that Zenlinia Anitsa Gabrovitz came up with. I'm a member of her Tangle Lab, And this is one of the projects from the February Tangle Lab. This is the follow-up lesson. So it's just another example of how you can approach your borders. You don't necessarily have to have it be that going down there, that going down there, and then another one here and here. It can be twisted about and it can still create a border. So that is me for today. So thank you so much for joining me. If you've tangled along, please do tag me in. Create and Cam with Lisa, hashtag Create and Cam with Lisa. I would love to see what you create. You all love sending me what you create, so it's nice to see, so keep that going. And please do subscribe if you haven't already. Just obviously means that you don't miss out on any future lessons that I'm going to put out, and it tells other people about my channel, which is obviously something that I'm trying to grow. So I'd really appreciate if you could share it far and wide. So thank you very much, and whatever day that you're joining this on, I hope you have a good morning, good evening, good night, all of the stuff. And hopefully next week I'll be back to normal service and have my video back out on Wednesday morning. Thank you very much. Bye.